Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have received countless messages from you guys, my incredible subscribers, that you would love for me to film a video sharing with you the updated protocols for those that are thinking about traveling to Nigeria. Basically, what are the rules for going to Nigeria? What are the requirements for PCR testing? As in, do we still have to do the 7-day tests? What is going on with vaccinations? Like, if you've been vaccinated, do you have to follow another set of requirements or not? That is what this video is all about. The truth is, it's been a few months since I last shared the travel protocols for travel to Nigeria. So yes, I am more than happy to do this video. This video today is very detailed and it will take you through the step-by-step requirement of what you need to do to prepare for your travel to Nigeria. Because it's going to be a very detailed video, I am going to ensure that I timestamp and index the video so that it's easy for you to navigate the different sections of the video. I'm going to leave those timestamps in the description box below. As always, I always state this disclaimer in my videos that it's really important for you to also double check the requirements yourself, because as we know with COVID-19, things are constantly changing, which means governments are constantly changing their protocols. The information I'm going to be sharing with you today is valid as at the beginning of July 2021. I'm going to leave the link of the official government site in the description box so that you can, if you're watching this video at a later date, you can basically go and check so that you're able to verify that the information or whether the information I'm sharing is still valid today. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Sassy Funke and I'm a Nigerian travel and lifestyle content creator. Really creating content to make your lives better, to make you guys better informed and make you just travel better and smarter. So if that's you, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and join an incredible community. We're nearly at 50,000 subscribers, guys, but we're moving slowly, but you can make that move faster. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you've not already subscribed to my channel. So let me start this video answering a question that a lot of you guys have been posing to me with regard to being vaccinated. Many of you are asking, Funke, I've been vaccinated. Does that mean I don't need to do a PCR test? Does that mean I don't have to self-isolate for 7 days? Does that mean that I have a different set of rules compared to the standard protocols that are being shared? And yes, the simple answer to your questions is that vaccination does not really affect your process to Nigeria at all in every way. I am currently in Canada, and right now I've been vaccinated in Nigeria, but because I've been vaccinated, I was basically exempt from the hotel quarantine, saving loads of money, and also I was exempted from doing the 10 or 14-day isolation. I didn't have to do that. I could easily just basically waka about and not have to do any of those standard rules. That is not the case for Nigeria. For travel to Nigeria, whether you've been vaccinated or not, you still have to follow the due process, the standard process for everyone else. So let's get straight into this video. The protocols that I'm sharing is actually on the link. It's available on the link nitp.ncdc.gov.ng/onboarding/guidelines. I'll leave that link in the description box so you can easily click to it and check it out too. Right, so this is what it says. I'm gonna start with pre-departure from country of exit, right? So even though, actually, before I get started, it says here that this is the revised quarantine protocols, and it says that this was released on the 27th of April 2021, but at the end of the page, it actually states that the protocol comes into effect on Friday, the 2nd of July 2021, so it's quite recent. So the first section I'm going to talk about is the pre-departure for country of exit, right? So this is basically stating the things that you have to do before you leave your country of exit. So if you're traveling from UK to Nigeria, what are the things that you have to do in the UK before you travel, right? And it breaks this down into other sections. The first section is pre-boarding. So let's talk about pre-boarding. It says step 1. It says passengers must perform a COVID-19 PCR test not more than 3 days before boarding. PCR test that's done more than 72 hours before departure is not valid, and the person will not be allowed to board, right? It states here that the rapid test, antibody tests are not acceptable, so only PCR tests can be used, basically. Key to note, when it states about the test has to be done no more than 72 hours or 3 days before your boarding, it's really important because it's really key to note that you can do your test within 3 days before your flight. So it doesn't have to be 3 days directly. It can be a day before, 2 days before your flight, as long as you can get your test results back before your flight. That's really important. But you can't do it earlier than 3 days. You can't do it 4 days or 3.5 days before your flight. It will not be, they won't let you on a flight. They're very strict with this. So bear this in mind, right? It then also states that the test validity commences from the time of sample collection, meaning it's at the point at which they collect the sample that the 3 days is being factored, not the point at which you get the results, right? Key to bear this in mind. It states here, for passengers with multiple connections before arrival in Nigeria, the PCR test must be valid within 72 hours of boarding from the first point of departure. What does this mean? So imagine you're coming from China, for example, to Nigeria, and there is no direct flight from China to Nigeria. Let's say you're going to, I don't know, Turkey first and then to Nigeria. They're basically stating that the 72 hours is actually from when you leave China, not when you get to Turkey or when you get to Nigeria. It's actually 72 hours before you board that flight from China, leaving China. That is key to note. They then state here that passengers must bring along an electronic or hard copy of their COVID-19 PCR test for presentation at the departure airport and upon arrival in Nigeria. What does this mean? They're saying that your COVID-19 PCR test result, make sure you actually print copies of it, right? Because you're going to have to show it before, example, you leave China and also when you get to Nigeria. So this is important. Step 2 of pre-boarding, it states that all intending passengers, including diplomats and children less than 10 years, must register via an online national portal, right? The NITP, that's the Nigeria International Travel Portal, nitp.ncdc.gov.ng, and proceed to fill out the online health declaration and self-reporting form located on the portal. It's basically saying that anyone that's traveling to Nigeria, even if it's a child or not a child, a diplomat or a diplomat, you have to register on the NITP portal. That's what they're saying. He goes on to say that to make sure that the information you provide on there is actually correct and verifiable. You're going to be asked to provide your phone number, residential address, a functioning email address, right? At the end of this step, it states that passengers who falsify their status as diplomats will face prosecution. The reason why that is in bold actually is because there is a function on that NITP portal that you can select that you're a diplomat. And if you're a diplomat, you are not required to submit a PCR test, right? So you don't have to do a PCR test. So I know some people might try and bypass that and say they're a diplomat, so they're allowed to basically bypass the PCR requirement. They're saying that if they find out maybe on arrival in Nigeria, you're going to be in trouble. So that's key to note. Step 3, it says after filling the online health declaration self-reporting form, I'm actually going to leave a link to when I did mine when I was traveling for the UK to Nigeria, so that if you want a more detailed step-by-step process of what that platform looks like and what it entails, you can check out that video. I'll link it up there for you. So it states after filling the online health declaration form, passengers will then be directed to upload their negative COVID-19 PCR test on the portal. You basically have to upload that document onto the portal. It then states here that only children less than 10 years are exempted from uploading a negative COVID-19 PCR test. So basically, kids that are less than 10 years do not have to do the COVID-19 PCR test. If your child is 10 or older on the date of travel, they have to do the COVID PCR test and upload that information. Once this is successfully done, passengers will proceed to the payment section of the portal. Passengers are advised to bring along their hard copy of their COVID-19 PCR test for presentation at the airport, right? Step 4. On reaching the payment section of the portal, passengers will be requested to select their preferred lab or sample collection center on where they will be self-isolating for a period of 7 days in Nigeria. A list of accredited private lab providers, sample collection centers across the country are available on the payment portal. The next stage is to choose a bank payment gateway and proceed to pay for the day 7 in-country COVID-19 test. Yes, you will have to pay for the test on the website before traveling, not in Nigeria. Before you travel, you need to pay for this. It states that please note that passengers paying in Naira should use cards that are issued by a Nigerian bank, right? But if you decide to pay in the USD, I think you have a function option to choose from. You can use your, foreign card. So you can also use foreign or Nigerian card when paying. It goes on to state here that diplomats and children less than 10 years old are exempted from payments for the repeat COVID test. So good to know that, children are not required to pay to do a COVID test to leave the country, and they also don't need to do one on day 7. Number 5, it states, following the successful payment, passengers should download the permit to travel certificate or QR code using the Get Permit to Travel button visible at the top right corner of the portal. Save and print the form for presentation at the point of boarding. The permit to travel certificate will have a paid if the payment is successful and unpaid if the payment has not gone through yet or is unsuccessful. Key to note, if it doesn't write paid, they won't let you board. So make sure that it's paid. You actually see paid written on there. It then says a copy of the permit to travel will also be sent to the email address provided by the passenger. Hence the reason why it's important for you to provide the right information, email address, once you're processing this. The second point here, or the second section, is boarding, right? First point under boarding. Prior to boarding to Nigeria, passengers must present 2 documents at the point of departure to be allowed to. So if, for example, you're at the airport in London or you're in China, you're about to leave to travel to Nigeria, you need to show them your PCR test that has been done within 3 days of your departure, right? And then goes on to state that airlines have been advised that anyone that doesn't have, that has done a different kind of test that is not PCR or has performed a test that is beyond 72 hours to boarding should not be allowed to board, essentially. Second document, aside from your PCR test, permit to travel certificate QR code generated from the Nigerian International Travel Portal on completion of the health questionnaire, uploading a negative COVID-19 PCR test, and schedule of the PCR test of day 7 of arrival in Nigeria. Passengers failing to show the permit to travel QR code will not be allowed to board. Pretty much they're saying 2 things you need to show when you're boarding: your COVID-19 test results and your permit to travel, which you generate from the NITP portal. Second point here, it says airlines that board passengers without any of the 2 documents that I just mentioned are going to be sanctioned, right? So it just states the punishment that the airlines will have to deal with. For example, they say if you're non-Nigerian coming to the country, they probably maybe deport you back at the cost of the airline. If you're Nigerian and you have permanent residency, right, you face prosecution, the airline shall be fined $3,500 for those that they fail to properly board properly. And it then states that airlines that continuously do this are going to be banned from coming to Nigeria, right? And the third point here, it states that at the time of boarding, the travelers will be required to undergo a temperature screening and ask about COVID-19 symptoms. Passengers with greater than 38 degrees centigrade temperature and other COVID-related signs and symptoms shall not be allowed to board. So basically, if your temperature is high and you have other COVID symptoms, it's a possibility that you'll be allowed to board the plane. Key to know. So the next section here is on arrival in Nigeria. Like, what exactly happens on arrival in Nigeria? I actually did a video talking really deeply about the process arriving in Nigeria when I flew to Nigeria in December 2020. Definitely check out the video, I'll link it up there. But basically what it states here is, I'm going to do a very quick summary, right? That all passengers arriving in Nigeria, you have to present those 2 documents that I mentioned earlier, the COVID PCR test and your permit to travel certificate, right? It says you have to present your international passport for clearance through the immigration system as per usual. Then it says that you have to proceed for your mandatory self-isolation in your selected in-country destination. So for example, if you're going to Ogun State, but you're arriving in Lagos, you can isolate in Ogun State. Where is your final destination? Go and isolate there for 7 days, right? So it's self-isolation. You're going to be the one monitoring yourself, I guess. It states that passengers are basically advised not to avoid interaction with other people. Also states that passengers should check their email and text regularly for updates on their arrangement for their repeat test, that's day 7 test, right? That's key to note. And then fourth, it mentions that you need to show up at the lab or sample collection center on the 7th day of arrival and pay the applicable fees for the COVID PCR test. That's if you have not done already, because you should have already paid it before, right? It states that the private lab should send you a reminder text or call you an email so that you should note that you have to show up for the test. This section then talks about, I guess, what happens if you fail to show up, right? It basically says that if you fail to show up for your day 7 test, they're going to report you to the broader NCDC department and the State Department teams who are going to basically follow up with you. It then states here that passengers who also fail to show up for the test will face travel restrictions on their international passport for at least 6 months and will not be able to travel abroad for that period, right? And that non-Nigerians passport holders will have their visas revoked. This threat is actually a very serious threat, because over the past couple of months, I know you guys may have seen on the TravelToNaija Instagram page that the government actually did sanction a number of people whereby they were banned from travel on the Nigerian passport for 6 months. Like, I don't want that to happen to you. You've already paid for this test, just go do it. It then states that test results will be provided within 24 hours. I can testify to that. They're very quick at providing results. And it states that if your test result is not received, make sure you contact the private lab to get your test results, right? It states that the person who tests positive for COVID-19 will be managed as per the national guidelines for COVID-19 treatment. If you test negative for COVID-19, then after 7 days, you can end self-isolation, but just continue to self-monitor yourself until day 14, just in case anything develops. And it states that travelers reporting or developing symptoms on arrival in Nigeria or during screening will not be allowed to self-quarantine and will be placed in institutional quarantine. What do they mean here? They mean, like, if you arrive in Lagos and you begin to show symptoms or something is going wrong, they won't let you go home. They'll probably put you in an institutionalized quarantine. I've not heard of situations where this has happened, but I guess them putting it there is making you aware of the possibilities of, your arrival, what could happen on arrival. It then says exit from self-isolation. Persons who test positive for COVID-19 after the day 7 test shall be managed based on the national guidelines. I shared that. And second point, those that are negative for COVID-19 after 7 days can exit self-isolation. So this, I guess, is also important because I know a number of people may not want to get a PCR test or will not travel with a valid PCR test result. So the government is sharing that this is the procedure for passengers that are arriving without a valid PCR result, right? So this is what you should expect. It states a passenger arriving in Nigeria without a valid PCR result, either you don't have a PCR result or you have a forged one, or you have a non-PCR COVID-19 test, for example, an antigen test, you'll be subjected to the following measures, right? This is what's going to happen. Number one, If holding a foreign passport and non-resident in Nigeria, the passenger will be denied entry into the country and arrangements made for immediate deportation at the cost of the airline. Number 2, for Nigerians and foreign passport holders with residency rights, they'll be provided with an information leaflet outlining the procedure that will be followed. Number 3, Port Health Services will screen the passenger to include a temperature check and review the health questionnaire to establish effectivity risk. 4th, the passenger will be registered on the Nigerian International Travel Portal. 5, passenger will be escorted to a designated quarantine facility, a government-approved hotel, for a period of 7 days. They highlight this point at the expense of the passengers, just to know that you'll be the one paying for it though. Passengers' passports will not be released until completion of mandatory quarantine period. Probably the way they'll get money from you is actually to hold your passport, so you have to give them money. Wow. 6th point, COVID-19 PCR tests will be conducted by a designated private lab within 24 hours of arrival at the quarantine facility at the expense of the passengers, meaning they're going to test you within 24 hours of arriving in Nigeria and you're going to have to pay for it. They said if the result is positive, you will now be transferred to an isolation facility and managed accordingly. If the test result is negative, the passenger will continue with mandatory isolation at the quarantine facility until day 7 PCR test is done. Number 7 point here, they highlight this point that all travelers that are presenting a forged COVID-19 PCR test shall be referred to the police authority or appropriate bodies for prosecution on expiration of mandatory quarantine period. And travel documents can only be returned to passengers following clearance by Port Health Services. The passenger information leaflet will provide details of this information. Yeah, I got that. So yes, guys, that is pretty much the summary. It's not a summary, it's a very detailed, I guess, detailed outlay of the travel protocols for coming to Nigeria. There are specific travel requirements for those that are coming from India, Turkey, Brazil, and South Africa. So if you're flying directly from India, Turkey, Brazil, and South Africa, the rules are completely different, right? And I believe I've done a video on this, and I'm going to link it up rather than repeating it again for you guys, right? So that is pretty much all you need. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know with regard to the travel protocols. Like, do you guys have questions? Like, if you still have questions with regard to the protocols, like, feel free, as always, to leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow TravelToNaija on Instagram. It's an incredible resource for you guys. The information on there. Also, the TravelToNaija Facebook community. It's a private group called TravelToNaija. Is such an amazing community of Nigerian travelers, which you're gonna love. So feel free to send a request for that. I'll leave the links to the group in the comment section below. I really hope this video has been super useful for you. If you have any questions, like, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you once again for your support, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.